Well, welcome back to Houston Life. For more than a decade, you have seen our next guest on TV highlighting the best sips and bites from all over the Lone Star State.
As the host of Goodtaste TV, Tanji Patton shares the stories behind the restaurants and the people who make it all happen. Throughout the years, she has found herself wanting to spend more time getting to know those inspiring folks. And earlier this year, she launched her very own podcast. It's called Good Taste for the Soul. This is perfect, Tanji, for you. It is perfect. Tanji is joining us now with a closer look on this. First of all, when you told us a while back you were starting this podcast, we were like, yes, this makes total sense. Yep. You meet the movers and shakers. You're a very interesting person yourself. You always ask interesting questions. The podcast setup looks so professional. So tell us, like, what are some of the highlights so far? Because you are off and running.
Well, I look at it, it's a big adventure, right? It's an adventure for our viewers, but it's an adventure for me too. I think I told you guys originally, it truly was divinely inspired. I'm doing this because I felt very led to do it. And when you hover above what we do on Good Taste, the TV show, we are talking with these folks for much longer than what you get to see once the edited version, right? And yes, they're great chefs, they're interesting people, they run good businesses, but they have a deep side to them that we hear sometimes, or maybe they tell us things off camera that we don't get to share. And if you think about it, at the end of the day, food is such a uniter, right? Yes. It brings people all over the world together, all denominations, all demographics. It really is a uniter. So when you think about it, is there a spiritual connection between our hunger for food and our hunger for connectivity with others? If you think about it, when you go to a friend's house and have dinner that they've cooked for you, that turns out into a magical evening. And it's not often about the great food on the table. It's about the people you're with, the conversations you have. Maybe it's the wine you're drinking. But there's something special about times like that, spent with people over food. If you look in the Bible, food is theme throughout. The first miracle Jesus did was convert water to wine. But God used food throughout the Bible. When the Jews escaped from Israel, he provided from them from above with manna, with bread, with quail. Food was given to us as humans for a reason, and it is a connector. The Last Supper. I could go on, but everybody has a story, right? And so that's our goal with Good Taste for the Soul, is to share those stories. And truly, at the end of the day, to hopefully connect with someone on a deeper level.
Yeah, and you need time to do that. You need time to peel back those layers of conversations, you know, and food is the ultimate love language. You sat down with one of Houston's icons, you know, Bun B. Actually, Tanji and Bun B, they're like the Houston version of like Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg. Like, you see, that's what I was getting from that. But you had a really good conversation with Bun.
We did. So we shot with Bun last season, and I didn't know him. I had heard of him. Everybody in Houston knows who he is, right? But I didn't know much about his music. I couldn't name you 5 rap songs, right? And so I was a little intimidated about the interview. What do I talk about? He was amazing, and he was great. And I knew then and there when we decided to do a podcast, this is someone I know I want to get on. There's a lot of depth to that man.
Oh, yeah.
He's a beautiful soul, and he could not have been more generous with his time. And I loved the episode. And I think we have
let's check it out.
We have a clip.
I've been given so many great things in life through my career, my travels. I've seen so much. I've done so much. I've met so many great people. And I just can't believe that that's all on me, right? Like, I'm an okay guy. I'm cool to be around. But there are things that have happened in my life where it has to be someone else or something else pulling those strings together. And I believe that. I believe not only is there a higher power guiding me, but I believe also that there's ancestral power behind what I do and what I represent. And I keep those things in mind when I move through this world. I want to be the best representation of myself that I can be, so that when people see me, if they don't see many people like me, that they can have a better understanding of people like me. And for those that know me, that they can see a truer sense of who I am. And I try to be as consistent as possible. I try to be the same person no matter when or where people see me or meet me. And having a very strong spiritual base, keeping me centered, really doesn't allow for a lot of room to be a different version of myself.
I loved what he said. I want to be the best representation of me I can. I took that to heart, because if you think about it, that's a pretty powerful statement. And that means a lot for everybody, right? I love talking to him. If you haven't heard the entire interview, he's wonderful.
Highly recommend. By the way, Bun B, I bet your wife Queenie is probably watching Houston Life right now. Shout out to Queenie, because Bun B's entire family, down to his grandkids, he's just truly an incredible guy. So supportive.
And he lights up, and he did the day we met at the restaurant at Troll, and he lighted. When we mentioned Queenie, oh my goodness, the light bulb went off in his eyes and his smile.
They're the best together. Hey, we have about 3 minutes to get through a couple more things. The Enchilada Queen, Sylvia, you mentioned you oftentimes, when you have someone's dish, you don't know the road that they took to get there. Sylvia has an incredible story.
She has an incredible story. You know, she has a former boyfriend that shot her. She nearly died. She described that story, and it would be easy to be bitter. It would be easy to go after him in the legal system. It would be easy to let that resentment destroy your life.
Your whole life.
Sylvia's a Christian. She talks about that in the podcast, but she made the decision, I'm not going to let it destroy me. I'm going to move on.
Yeah,
let's watch this clip.
Power of forgiveness here.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing, as I look back on it now, we talk about forgiveness. So it was so shocking. The next morning, I don't know, mid-morning, I wake up and there's a policeman there and a detective to ask me a ton of questions. And he asked me, well, what happened? Or, I don't know. And I think I said, well, I think he just had a breakdown. I don't understand it because I never knew that a violent, threatening side of him. I mean, it was just out of the blue in my mind anyway. I never saw any kind of hint where I should be fearful. And, but since I was on this strong spiritual journey, and it surprises a lot of people. It's amazing how many people are really surprised, not even surprised, shocked. And so I just said, I forgive him. And I don't know why he did it, but that's his business. And,
You said that at that point in the hospital?
I told him, yes, in the hospital. Yes. I told the detective that I forgave him.
Talk about a fast track to healing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And she's definitely moved forward. She has her own line of salsas now and cooking classes, and she's a lovely lady.
She's a legend, Sylvia. Okay, Lidia Bastianich, and she holds a special place in your heart because you invited her to come on your show a long time ago, or to come cook in your kitchen, right?
Cook in my kitchen. This was like 14, 15 years ago. And I reached out to her. I didn't know her, but I had always admired her and watched her shows on PBS, right? And I reached out through channels on PBS, found her, and just a random email. Would you consider, cooking with me? I've started a new show, and it was online. Yes. We were this big then. We were online, and Lidia came to my kitchen. I was expecting an entourage to knock on the door. Lydia's here. Where do we go? Set up. Oh no, Lidia rang the doorbell. And could not have been more gracious and nice. I was expecting to cook one, maybe two things. She said, all right, what else you got? Let's keep going. She stayed several hours. She was an amazing lady. And so she's one of the first ones I reached out to with the new podcast.
We have a clip from that.
She said yes.
I came to the United States. I was a 12-year-old immigrant. And talking about regions, and Istria, where I was born, went to communist Yugoslavia. So we were under communism. So I was just born in that period, and it was difficult. You couldn't really be Italian. They didn't allow you to speak Italian or practice your religion or whatever. It was communism. We escaped back into Italy. Escaping back into Italy, they had changed our names by then because, they didn't want any Italian names or whatever. And so we ended up in a refugee camp. And I spent 2 years a refugee camp in Trieste, awaiting to migrate. My parents wanted, a new life for all of us. And ultimately, in 1958, Dwight Eisenhower was the president. He opened immigration for people fleeing communism.
In this relocation camp over there in Italy for 2 years, long story short, food was the connector, right? That kept them going. When she moved to America, they finally got to get into America. She had to leave her grandmother behind.
Oh my God.
But she was trying to recreate those emotional feelings cooking food, and it led to the amazing career she has. So God works in very mysterious ways.
Truly.
In all our
homesick. I mean, I can't even imagine. She's cooking dishes that her grandmother made for her.
Yes.
Cheers to you, Tanji.
Cheers.
Congrats on the podcast.
Cheers to you guys. You guys have been amazing.
Well, listen, that's not all, folks. When we come back, we are taking Tanji with us over to the kitchen for a simple but delicious chicken dish inspired by Chef Lidia Bastianich.
Don't go anywhere, guys. Houston Life will be right back. welcome back to Houston Life. Before the break, we were chatting with Tanji Patton about her new podcast, Good Taste for the Soul, those inspiring messages that you are now sharing.
And of course, one of the things we discussed is how food brings us together. So if there's someone you want to connect with, maybe someone you disagree with, hand them a sandwich.
There you go.
I have a lot of sandwiches I want to give them.
It works every time. Or give them a good glass of wine,
There
right?
you go.
So I brought a couple from HEB that I absolutely love. They were in the episode this season on Good Taste, the TV show. One is an Eastern European blend. It's incredibly low alcohol, and it's for Houston. I think it's a perfect wine. It's a chocolate region. It's a weird label, but if you tell HEB it was on the show and it's this funky label, they'll find it for you. And I know you guys.
Ooh, it smells kind of yeasty. Sorry to jump in.
It's got
love
fun fruit,
the
like
plasticware.
zesty limes and lemons and. Yeah.
That's
Perfect
really
for
nice.
summer.
And
That's
it's
really nice.
inexpensive.
Nice.
This one is Roseblood Rosé. This is a new rosé that HEB has. I love it. Provence, count me in anytime. Let me show you what it looks like. And then the Josh Sparkling you were drinking, this is probably Kroger and Specs and whatnot, but this one is non-alcoholic, by the way. Josh now has a non-alcoholic sparkling.
That's the one we were drinking before the break, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
So I wanted to bring, if you're not familiar with Sylvia's
Love that.
Enchilada Kitchen, and how can you not be? If you're not, you need to be.
Add it to your list.
She's an incredible chef, but she does a fun way to explore her enchilada. She's called the Enchilada Queen. Even the New York Times admits it. This is her south of the border enchilada sampler.
Trying to tilt this
and
up.
it's a fun way to try them. The first one is a Mexico City version, Morelia, Hidalgo, Puebla. They all have different flavor components based on south of the border.
They look beautiful.
You can also do her north of the border one. So Sylvia's is great. Also, her grilled quail is pretty darn good for all you quail fans. And her tres leches cake.
Oh my God, a chocolate tres leches. That's what's
chocolate
good.
tres leches
I
cake.
like this because you can try everything, get a little taster sample. Try that tres leches, Derek.
I do
Get in there.
too. And it's a good date night thing because, it's plenty of food. You don't need to eat a whole lot.
Oh,
When you
yes.
get that.
Even that rice and
Loving it.
beans, I would stick my face
I
in
know,
that.
I kind of want to go back to
Awesome.
that too. And then you have the Trill Burgers. We just
Trill
heard your
burgers, and
Bun
they're
B
doing a
episode.
smash taco now with
Fun.
Trill, which is a lot of fun. They take their smash burger. It's got that great special sauce on it. It's a fun way to have a taco. Great flour tortillas, and who doesn't love the burgers, right?
And knowing how great Bun
And
is.
their lemonade. Oh, I know. And they still have the lines. I mean, it's still as popular as
Veggie
ever.
options as well.
Yeah,
always
they're
good.
doing an awesome
Always
job. They're killing it, and they just opened, I think, a location out in Spring on the Weta.
Okay, now you have a recipe today for us that you have a strong connection to. Tell us about that.
This is the dish Lidia made in my kitchen.
Wow.
So it was great. She came, she brought her wines. There were some Bastianich wines, by the way. I'm not sure if Houston has them. That was our kitchen some years back.
Wow.
And look at all the stuff. She brought all those wines. We had a table full. We did all kinds of things. It was great fun. This was the dish she made that I have made over and over again. It's a one-pot wonder. You take one, I use a cast iron skillet. It's the only pan you need.
These easy, simple ingredients.
This
here.
is the easiest recipe ever. You're going to start with a little bit of butter and olive oil, and that gets your chicken browning, right, and cooking. Then you're going to add garlic to that, so you get the garlic flavor in there. Once it's really hot and you've got a little bit of browning going on, you're going to deglaze. Pardon me. Speaking of your allergies, Derek, now I've got them.
The bag's under my eyes, in case you're just joining us. Yeah, it apparently happens with age.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
And allergies. Okay, back to the chicken.
Okay, so basically, this is a process for about 25, 30 minutes. It's chicken. You want to get it done. You're going to be turning it left and right. Just keep an eye on it. You're going to turn it. What that does, it gets all the flavors in there. The wine just adds layers of flavor to the olive oil and the butter and the fats coming off the chicken as you're cooking it.
Yeah.
Tanji, for the novice chefs out there, when you say you're deglazing the pan with the white wine.
It's an important thing, and you can use other things than wine. It's important. When you're cooking protein, there are bits and pieces of the skin of the meat that will adhere to the surface of the pan. There's a lot of flavor in those little morsels.
Yes.
So when the pan is really hot and you use something like wine, you could use broth, you can use a variety of things, and you pour it in there, it lifts those little particles off the pan. And so you do that and stir it, and then they become part of the dish, and they just add flavor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we put a little bit of bay leaves in there. This is just a process as you're doing it. and then green olives. Now the olives, I prefer the Castelvetrano. They're an Italian green olive. They're not super briny, but they're good. They have a lot of flavor. Perfect if you want to use another green olive. The secret with olives, I will tell you, in my opinion, there's a lot of flavor in the pit. And when you buy pitted olives, they're in a heavy brine, etc. I like to pit my own olives.
You do?
I do. I have
Wait
a
a
little
minute.
gadget that I'll bring it sometime that it helps spread it. You know,
Bring that in.
Or you can get a knife and do it the hard way.
How long does that take?
Well, I have a glass of
All
wine
night.
nearby.
And she uses
It's
it in our
relaxing.
martini, too.
Music's on Alexa, and it's just kind of a de-stressing thing.
This is an interesting
try the
pro
chicken
tip, Tanji, because I always go for the pitted olives,
Well-
but there truly is more flavor if the pit is still in it.
It's same thing with your chilies and your peppers. You know, when everything's de-seeded and all that and deveined, yeah, you may lose some heat, but you're also losing some flavor. Not that it's, hey, I get it, for the sake of time, do it. Or for
But if
the
it's
sake
worth
of
it to you to do it, I think that's a
Yeah.
hack we can all maybe take.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to try this chicken through the magic of television.
We topped it with a
ready.
few
Try some
pine
of the olives
nuts,
here.
toasted pine nuts, and it's done.
Is
That
there
is lovely.
still,
Isn't it good?
and I think the connection with Lidia Bastianich, because you have such a history, because she was that first high-profile person to say yes to you, this must remind you of her every time you make this dish.
I think of Lydia every single time I cook this dish.
so nice.
Absolutely. God bless the lady. She is the real deal. What you see on her TV show or wherever else she may pop up, social media, it's the real thing. She's as genuine in person. She's lovely.
As are you, Tanji Patton.
That is true.
Speaking of the
That is
real deal,
absolutely
right
true.
here, Tanji Patton, listen to her podcast, Good Taste for the Soul, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, go to YouTube. Very important. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Good Taste with Tanji, and hit your notifications on. Subscribe on YouTube. But yes, you can get it on your phone and wherever you get a podcast.
And then, of course,
Do you want me to shut up
You
now?
can get
No, I
Good
love
Taste with Tanji this weekend on KPRC2. Tune in Saturday on at 10:30 a.m. and then Sunday at 5:30 a.m.
Thank you, Tanji.
Don't ever shut up.
Great to see you.